And we're back. Hi, I'm David Perry, the host of 10%, and our continuing conversation with what I like to call him, cultural entrepreneur, my friend Gene Ramey. So Gene, as I sit here on the set, actually it's not a set, we're in your home.
I live here.
And you know, it is really a charming cottage. Reminds me of that old book, The Secret Garden.
Well, it is private in a way. I don't see many other people. It's in the back of a house, so that not many people even know there's a place to live back here, although the view is pretty wonderful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah,
But as I sit here, looking over your shoulder, I see the art you've created, the piano, which is gorgeous, of which you've created so much music. But also I'm looking at a wonderful portrait of you, and I know you know what I'm talking about,
Yes.
and they're going to show it, that was done of you when you were how old?
32.
So over 50 years ago.
Yes.
And who did the portrait?
Laura Lopez, who was a very famous painter, particularly portraits, in Mexico. He, in his early, self-taught by the way, he did a lot of the portraits of the family of all the presidents in Mexico for many years. He was very, very well known and a real maverick. He was a really one of his kind. He was small. He looked more Chinese than anything else. So we had a lot of fun because I visited him in Mexico and he came and visited me here. And when he painted that, he came up to maybe get some jobs with portraiture. And the problem is he had nothing to show. So I said, you know, I can talk about your work a lot, but descriptions is not really.
Yeah, it's hard to sell an artist unless you got the art to show.
Absolutely. So I said, what are we going to do? He said, well, I guess I'll have to paint a portrait. And he looked at me. I said, no, no, no. No, no, no. He said, well, who else? Okay. Mostly just to help him. And well, after I have the portrait, it's a treasure for me.
Well, and I've seen it in all of the places you've lived. It's always
Yes,
been one of the
yeah.
highlights. Was that the beginning of your love affair with Mexico?
Actually, before. I was in Mexico, I think I was here in 1960. I went to Mexico, to Puerto Vallarta, in 1962.
My goodness, Puerto Vallarta in 1962 was quite different from what it is now.
A little fishing village on the same water with the same beaches.
Right.
But there was a very poor section between the downtown. I stayed at the Hotel Rio, which was on the Rio, and then the Playa de los Muertos. You had to go through a very poor section of it because there was just nothing for people to make a living doing, just fishing. There was no roads in it. I came by plane. Odd enough, airplanes came there, but cars didn't. Like from Guadalajara, you couldn't drive to Puerto Vallarta. So, but now I'm so happy. You know, tourists change places.
Yeah.
But in Puerto Vallarta, that section that was really very poor, you know, dirt floors in the houses and all that kinds, is gone. There's a really healthy middle class. So those people are working in the hotels now, or they're doing whatever they're doing. It's a prosperous town now, and I'm told it's still a good town.
Yeah. Do you miss Mexico ever?
Ever, always, always. I miss it a lot. When I was there, going there was a kind of a crazy thing to do financially. But I owned the house on Page Street, and it was beautiful, and everything was okay. But somehow I just said, I've got to stir things up a little bit.
You need some change.
I almost went and moved to Savannah, Georgia. And I spent a month there and enjoyed it, but I was glad I didn't move there. It's a little bit isolated, and there's not enough cultural things going there.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anybody there.
Yeah. The art that you produce now, I'm looking at it here and have looked at it for the last 2 years as we've been talking about it. What was the inspiration for this? It's wonderfully colorful, which makes me see some of the influence of Mexico in it. but it's also it's very geometric. When did that come to you?
Yes, well, I don't hope to ever express deep emotional things through painting. Artists can do that. I don't. I do that maybe with the music or maybe with friends, but these are just designs. They're impersonal in a kind of way. You don't know any more about me by looking at them than I don't try to be expressive. Abstract expression is a period of art that just sailed right over me. But I like design very much. Ellsworth Kelly is one of my great admirers. I mean, well, I'm a great fan of his because of the simplicity of it. Now, the shape is in Mexico. The garden, jardinero, the pot in the gardens, are absolutely wonderful. Mexico does the most wonderful clay work in almost because they make bricks. Almost every small town has a kiln to make bricks. The town thank goodness for their bricks, and they make their own. So the idea of firing clay is there. Well, these are called maceta, and I just love that shape because one of the things that I like about a pre-designed shape is that you don't have. The shape is there.
Well, it's like people who like writing poetry with a certain form, whether it's a haiku or a villanelle. So the expressiveness comes within the form.
It's a kind of discipline in a way.
Yeah.
It's a kind of discipline. But I think within that area of this shape, the maceta shape, it has no straight lines, but the design in there could be straight lines.
Right.
Now, I don't expect these people or me to get a pot and paint it. They're not to be, because I've seen painted pottery and it's really terrible. But the Mexican, their glazed pottery is very interesting, very imaginative. But I like it. Like this piece right there is I had never seen with the 3 handles on it before. So they're very experimental, and there's a town not too far from Cuernavaca that specializes in pottery.
Right. We've got just a few minutes left. I want you to tell me, of all the places you visited, you've certainly been here a Bay Arean for a very long time, but other than San Francisco and Sausalito, what's the favorite place you've ever visited and why?
Florence, Italy, because I have friends who were born there. They're Italian Americans, but they were born in Florence, and I visited them here, and I visited them in Florence, and I got to know the town very, very well.
And I mean, I was going to say why Florence. I mean, why not Florence? Florence is just
the Renaissance is there, and the Uffizi. I mean, there's just so much. The Duomo. There's so much there, and music too. So I know the downtown part of Florence very well, and I think so. Paris I visited very often and love Paris very much, but Florence is small enough so you really can love the smallness of it, and the age of it goes even farther back. May I go back to Mexico just for a minute? I was there for 10 years, and one of the first things that happened to me is that I was at a party and I heard this 10-year-old boy play the violin. They were the Bach unaccompanied suites from memory, 10 years old. I said, my God. So I said, I don't even know how to tune the violin, but I knew that he had that. But he was missing a part of really just banging the notes out and really expressing. At 10 years old, you still can do it. You don't need to be an adult to express the musical ideas at all. So I thought to myself, do I want to help him? Because I know I can. But you don't begin helping somebody like that and then 2 weeks later, a month later, change your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that, because I think abandoning a child like that is the worst thing that could happen. So I said, yes, it's there. Jose Adolfo was my, a student. He
Mm-hmm.
was not in violin playing, but in music.
Mm-hmm.
The whole 10 years that I was there. He is now one of the leading, he changed from violin to viola. And I've not talked to him to see why, but he is now one of the leading soloists on viola in Europe, playing with
Wow.
major European orchestras.
You know, as we close this, as I told you, the interview goes very quickly.
As you just sail past.
But in closing, if you had something to say to Jose Adolfo, what would you say to him right now?
Well, we correspond with occasionally with email from Europe.
Uh-huh.
It's what he says to me, because he just says, I'm on this stage playing because of you. You can imagine how that makes me feel. I am so proud.
What greater legacy for someone who loves art and has made art?
His family calls me their angel. So what, it's the best 10 years I ever spent in so unexpected. I just expect, lunch and dinners and, expatriates there in Mexico.
And now you've helped launch an artist. Thank you, Gene.
Yes, thank you, David. I've enjoyed it.
We've been speaking with Gene Ramey, cultural entrepreneur, someone very special to my heart and to many people's hearts. Thanks for watching 10%. I'm David Perry. We'll see you. Good night.